This so the focus of this review, though, basically these three, the Strike Eagle versus the Gen 1 and Gen 2. The reason I'm kind of giving Gen 1 and Gen 2 because it basically is kind of a blend between the two. In many ways, it feels like a Gen 2 PST and some of the features and benefits and improvements that come in a Gen 2, but it still has some of the PST1 isms in the sense that you're still dealing with smaller revolutions and like only up to 12 minutes of angle. This is in mil radians, so you're only going up to 5 mils per revolution. So it just you're kind of limited. You can get lost, etc. So we'll kind of go through it and break it down. But this is where the comparison is focused on those. The PST1, obviously, first off, we're 6 through 24. Let's kind of look at zoom. So 6 to 24, and starting out 6, I found like you're kind of tunneling. It's pretty narrow trying to find your object. Like if you're thinking in hunting or shooting application, you're trying to find your target acquisition. I think you can kind of get lost starting at 6 times zoom. It's not a favorable thing for me to use that way. The 24 end on the high end, I love, and that's nice. Anywhere from 24 up to say 25. Here you're starting at 5, going to 25, and it works. So I really like the zoom kind of area we're in. Now, the Strike Eagle starts out all the way down at 4, though, and that is nice. It's even nicer than the PST2. Looking at the amount of space you have to find your target, starting out at 4, it actually is quite generous, and I really like that. So whether you're thinking, I'm going to review it kind of in the context of hunting or tactical shooting applications, I think target acquisition is a key factor, and getting it down to 4, or even in the 3 through 18, it's a favorable thing to have. But reaching up into that 24, 25 mark is really nice. So I'd give a thumbs up to the zoom ratio on this and where they've put it out rather than starting it at 5. I think it's nice starting out at 4. If they got it to even 3, say through 23, I don't know. Whatever it is. So I'd give it a good plus on that 4. Zoom, the image quality kind of moving into the kind of looking at the reticle and all. I was surprised actually comparing the Strike Eagle to the generation 1 and 2. All 3 lined up, looking at the same thing, whether a target at, or an image at, say, 100 yards, 200 yards, out to 1,000, out to 1,400 yards, and beyond. The clarity and crispness, like looking at grass or, little bush and foliage all the way out with this Strike Eagle out to, say, 1,000 or 1,400 yards, I was impressed. Like the clarity is there, as good as both of these other options almost. And so for price point being almost half the price of a certainly, this isn't really, you're going to be hard pressed to find these because they're obsolete now. But the Gen 2, you're almost half price. So I think you're really getting optically, at least this particular one, glass edge to edge, clarity, crispness, maybe a little haziness, but generally, color and image quality there is good. And that's what I look for, is the ability to decipher fine details, especially at long distances and maxed out full zoom in normal, say, full light conditions, but even at low light conditions. I was impressed. Really, it did very good. Compared to the Gen 2 PST at twice the value or twice the price there. The reticle and as well. Like we're dealing with a Horus type reticle here, and I'm going to maybe do another one that I'll get into all the detail here, but Horus type, a very plain Jane but desirable reticle in the PST1. This starts to get cluttered. You're trying to, if you're trying to find an object and look and detail it out, sometimes your Horus dots and everything get in the way. I was a little concerned about the reticle here for the Strike Eagle, especially being in second focal, that it would just be too large, too bulky. But if you watch my other review I'm going to post on the reticles, I actually found it to be pretty good. I like it. It works for me. They go thin on the inside, and then they widen out, and generally it's acceptable for my eyes at least. So I like that. Both all have illumination. Thank goodness they've gotten it off here and put it on, whether PST2 or the Strike Eagle, put it on the side here. The only thing with the illumination on the Strike Eagle is when you turn it, there's no off in between. So as you dial up in your illumination numbers there, it's going brighter, 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 and then off. Where everything else, Gen 1 and Gen 2, has an off in between each of these amounts of turning up your illumination. Parallax, let's see, I think that's enough I'll say about reticle clarity. Parallax, which obviously helps with clarity, good. I found it to be, it doesn't look stiff. You can see, you can turn it, but it is stiff. And I just found trying to get that little tweak to just kind of get that grass blade or that, that bullet hole shot, at 300 yards or 200, you're kind of fighting it just where Gen 1, it's just a little smoother, and then Gen 2, it's more butter-like. It's nice and smooth, and I really like the Parallax just being that extra little smooth. You can just get those little tweaks without much, kind of adjustment, and it fits in. So, maybe a little drawback there, but again, maybe after torquing on this thing back and forth, it'll eventually loosen up. The turrets, as for sound, I'll kind of give you, how they sound and feel. Generally, good. So certainly audible, and they don't feel mushy or whatever. I think this one's the loudest, the Gen 1. And then obviously Gen 2. Completely different sound there. But again, all work. So I think, I don't have any problem with the turrets, the sound. They are what they are. The feel's good. No zero stop. And that's what I don't like. I don't know if I really like having a scope without a zero stop, in that if you go up, it's one thing if you're 500 yards or whatever, under most calibers you're within the first revolution, but if you're going to start shooting out beyond, you're getting into second or third revolutions, and then you got to turn it back and remember. And that's just when you're focused and you're running and dealing with stuff, you forget. And so that's my drawback. I just don't like a small turret system. If you've shot this for a long time and then you move to a PST Gen 2 where you're getting twice the amount on its turret, you just love it. I can shoot out to 1,000 yards and I'm not even doing one full revolution. And so it's just so nice in comparison. Plus you got a zero stop, a hard zero stop. So you can just give her, and there you go. It's just awesome. So back to this, I know they're trying to make it, whatever. Somebody's got to cut a corner somewhere to make it affordable. This is one of them. So then I would be fine with it. Now I'm a guy who shoots off the glass actually through the reticle, and I'll use the glass. One, I'm not having to fuss mechanically and dial. It's one less thing to do before I take my shot. I can look at my dope. For instance, I'll often put my dope on my gun. So say I know, okay, I've got a shot that's, say, 700 yards or 750, so 4.2 because I shoot mil-radians, and on these, so 4 point whatever we are there. And bam, you just hold over in your reticle on the glass. That's etched. It's perfect. You hold there, you shoot. It's quick. Then you can move to, a 400 yard shot, and there's there you go, 1.2. So you just hold to 1.2. You're not dialing, you're not getting lost. I like that. Now the problem is they only put this in MOA, so I'm a mil-radian guy, so that's a drawback. Quick aside, I'd love for Vortex to put these Strike Eagles into mil-radians as well, give us that option. But since it's in MOA, you only get 20 MOA, where the co-equal in these, you're getting up to 32 minutes of angle etched on the glass. So 20 MOA is, for most guns, you're probably shooting out to 750, maybe 800 or 850 for some flat shooting guns. So, if you want to do that 1,000-yard shot off the glass, you can't. You're forced to dial, and then whatever. So it just, if it was me, and I'll get into this further into the review when I look through, deal with a second review on the reticle here, is I just wish that they would, like, they've even got the space in the reticle to have etched it. They didn't, and I just think it's a shame. And they could have just put all the way up to 24, 28, or tried to squeak in the 32 MOA etched on the glass. That would have been nice. But anyway, so then the glass limits how much you can hold over the turret, in revolutions limits without, so it is what it is. It works. If I was shooting out to 500 yards a lot, and most hunters probably that's the case, or maybe into the second revolution, then you're probably fine. So kind of try to bring some wrap up here and just kind of review, looking at the Vortex Strike Eagle 4 through 24 by 50. As for performance, I think it'll perform. It'll do the job. It's a Vortex. Their Diamondbacks even, work well, and they guarantee that they're gonna hold true and dial properly, etc. And if they're significantly off, they'll warranty them, and they'll give you a new one or fix it or whatever. So I don't think you have to worry a ton about that. I think it should perform. The glass, the quality, I think it performs well. That way, I think overall you're dealing with a decent scope there. As for application, say if you're a hunter, what do you need? I think you need clear image at normal and low light situations. I think you're going to get it. I think you'll like it. It's comparable to these others, and if not equal to, and maybe even better in some places. Each piece of glass is a work of art, so you can get one, and in the heap you'll find another one that's not as good. So when you go to a store and look through, if you like that glass, buy that one, because I can't guarantee you, but I know I have looked through a heap of PSTs, or Vortex scopes, and looked at one and then looked at the other, and one piece of glass is not the same as the other. So anyway, but generally this one that I have is clear, and it's great in low light, equal to the PST Gen 2. long and short shooting, if you're hunting, you're going to want field of view, especially for those short shots, and getting that 4-power, big thumbs up. It's a plus. Better than a 5-25. It helps. So I think you're going well there. Long shots, you can do them. You can dial, you can hold over. You can get out probably, say, 800 on average yards. Most hunters, shouldn't be doing over that anyway. Too many variables of wind, yourself, etc. Unless you do your appropriate, then training and whatever, then don't do that shot. So I think it works, for shooting long range, hunting, etc. As for turrets and all that, we've talked about dialing, etc., and you can get lost in that a bit. If you were tactical and introduction, obviously if you're a pure on tactical shooter, you're not going to buy the scope. I think if you're an intro to kind of competition, you could probably look at this. Otherwise, you're probably going with something else. But at an intro level, I think it'll do the job. But if you're going to want to get out, PRS and then, out to 1,000 yards or plus, it's not ideal. Unfortunately, I wish the glass was a little, again, had more etching on it to take you further for holdovers. So you could at least use the glass, where then you say wouldn't want to use the turret. So again, I'm just kind of repeating myself there. But if I was in competition shooting, even though dollars and cents says I would love to have this, I would use a Gen 2, because I'm going to have the dialing, I'm not going to get lost, and the glass takes me to 1,000 right off of the glass. So I would use the Gen 2. So there you go. There you have it. Hope this helps as you're making a decision, but certainly for price and, this, you can't go wrong. This has got more bang for buck quality than any of the others, I think. It's certainly a good piece of glass, and so it's certainly worth having and throwing on the kind of gun. If you're just a general all-around shooter, hunter kind of guy, this is a great scope. And you're not looking to spend excessive money and have a light compact scope. This will do well. So there you go. All the best, and hope this has been a helpful review. Thanks.